The Christmas note. The snow fell softly outside the glass walls of Montgomery General Hospital, blanketing the city in peaceful white. Inside, Emma Carter moved quietly through the pediatric ward, her light blue dress swishing gently as she checked on her young patients. The hallways were decorated with paper snowflakes and colorful drawings made by the children. Christmas was only 3 days away. Emma had been a pediatric nurse for 5 years now, and she loved every moment of it. The children called her Nurse Emma, and she knew each of their names, their favorite stories, and what made them smile. But tonight, as her shift neared its end, something caught her attention. 3 little girls sat together in the playroom, their blonde heads bent close as they whispered to each other. Emma recognized them immediately. Lily, Sophie, and Grace Turner were 6-year-old triplets who had been admitted 2 weeks ago with pneumonia. They were nearly recovered now, but their father had asked the doctors to keep them a few extra days to be absolutely certain they were well. Emma approached slowly, not wanting to startle them. "Hello, girls," she said softly. "What are you 3 up to?" The triplets looked up, their identical blue eyes wide and serious. Lily, who was usually the spokesperson, held up a piece of paper covered in careful, wobbly handwriting. "We wrote a note," Lily said quietly. "For you, Nurse Emma." Emma knelt down beside them, her heart warming at their sweet faces. "For me, how wonderful. May I read it?" Sophie nodded eagerly and handed her the paper. Emma unfolded it carefully and read the words written in crayon. "Dear Nurse Emma, please visit our daddy. He is very lonely. He works all the time and has no friends for Christmas. He lives in the big building downtown. His name is Mr. Alexander Turner. He needs someone nice like you. Asterisk. Love, Lily, Sophie, and Grace. Asterisk P.S. He likes hot chocolate. Asterisk. Emma felt her throat tighten. She looked at the 3 little faces watching her hopefully. "Your daddy is lonely?" she asked gently. Grace, the quietest of the 3, nodded. "Mommy went to heaven 2 years ago," she whispered. "Daddy is sad. He tries to hide it, but we know. He works and works," Lily added. "Even on Christmas. He says he has important meetings." Sophie reached out and took Emma's hand. "But you're nice, Nurse Emma. You make people feel better. Maybe you can make Daddy feel better too." Emma's heart ached for these sweet children and for the father she had never met. Alexander Turner. She knew the name, of course. Everyone in the city did. He was the CEO of Turner Industries, one of the most successful technology companies in the country. She had seen his picture in newspapers, always looking serious and focused, dressed in expensive suits. "I don't know if your daddy would want a visit from a stranger," Emma said carefully. "Please," all 3 girls said together, their voices forming a gentle chorus. Emma looked into their hopeful eyes and felt something shift in her chest. "Let me think about it," she said softly. "But right now, it's time for your medicine and then bedtime." The girls nodded obediently and followed her back to their room. As Emma tucked them in, she couldn't stop thinking about the note. These children had noticed their father's loneliness even through their own illness. What kind of man was Alexander Turner behind the stern photographs and business headlines? That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about 3 little girls who worried about their father, and a man who had lost his wife and buried himself in work. Finally, at midnight, she made a decision. The next morning, Emma's day off, she found herself standing outside the towering glass building that housed Turner Industries. Her hands were shaking slightly as she held a small red box tied with a bow. Inside were homemade gingerbread cookies and a thermos of hot chocolate. The lobby was magnificent, all marble and modern art, with a massive Christmas tree in the center. Emma felt very small and out of place in her simple coat and boots. But she thought of Lily, Sophie, and Grace, and walked to the reception desk. "I'm here to see Mr. Turner," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. The receptionist looked up, surprised. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but his daughters sent me. I'm their nurse at Montgomery General. Emma Carter." The receptionist's professional expression softened slightly. "The triplets, how are they doing?" "Much better. They should be home in a few days." The woman picked up the phone and spoke quietly. After a moment, she looked up again, clearly surprised. "Mr. Turner will see you. Top floor, office at the end of the hall." Emma's heart pounded as the elevator climbed higher and higher. What was she doing? This was crazy. He probably thought she was completely inappropriate, visiting him at work like this. The elevator doors opened, and Emma stepped into a quiet hallway with thick carpet. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the snowy city below. At the end of the hall, a door stood slightly open. Emma knocked softly. "Come in," said a deep voice. She pushed the door open and stepped inside. The office was enormous, with a view that took her breath away. Behind a massive desk sat Alexander Turner. He was younger than she expected, probably in his mid-30s, with dark hair and tired eyes. He stood up as she entered, and she could see the expensive suit, the perfect haircut, the watch that probably cost more than her car. But she could also see something else: loneliness in the set of his shoulders, sadness in the faint lines around his eyes. "Miss Carter," he said formally. "My receptionist said you're my daughter's nurse." "Yes, sir. I'm sorry to intrude on your workday." "Your daughters, Emma paused, suddenly feeling foolish. "They wrote me a note. They said you were lonely." For a long moment, Alexander Turner just stared at her. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed. It was a rusty sound, as if he hadn't laughed in a very long time. "They did they?" He shook his head, but his eyes had softened. "Those girls, they worry too much about me." "They love you very much," Emma said gently. "And they're not wrong, are they?" About the loneliness. The question hung in the air between them. Alexander looked away, toward the windows and the falling snow. "My wife died 2 years ago," he said quietly. "Cancer. It was fast and terrible, and suddenly I was alone with 3 little girls who needed me. I threw myself into work because I didn't know what else to do. How to be both parents. How to fill the enormous space she left behind." Emma set the red box on his desk. "Your daughters also told me you like hot chocolate." He looked at the box, then at her, and something in his expression cracked. "I do," he said softly. "Elizabeth, my wife, she made it every Christmas Eve. I haven't had any since she died." "Maybe it's time," Emma said. She opened the box and poured the hot chocolate, still warm, into 2 cups she found on his credenza. She handed one to him. He took it with hands that trembled slightly. "Why did you really come here?" he asked, looking at her over the rim of the cup. Emma thought about it. "Because 3 little girls taught me something. That sometimes the people who seem like they have everything are actually the loneliest. And because it's almost Christmas, and no one should be alone at Christmas." Alexander took a sip of the hot chocolate, and she saw his eyes close briefly. "It tastes just like hers," he whispered. They talked for 2 hours. Alexander told her about Elizabeth, about the girls, about how hard it had been. Emma told him about the hospital, about how the triplets had charmed every nurse and doctor, about their bravery and sweetness. "They're coming home in 2 days," Emma said finally. "On Christmas Eve." "I know. He paused. "I've been planning to take time off. To really be with them this Christmas." "That's wonderful." Alexander looked at her for a long moment. Would you like to join us? For Christmas. The girls would love it, and I would too." Emma felt warmth spread through her chest. "I'd like that very much." On Christmas Eve, Emma arrived at the Turner home carrying gifts for the triplets. The house was beautiful but felt empty until the door opened and 3 little girls squealed with joy. "Nurse Emma, you came. You visited Daddy." Behind them, Alexander smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. "Come in," he said. "Please." They built a snowman in the front yard as evening fell. The triplets directed the construction with serious concentration, while Alexander and Emma worked together, their hands occasionally touching as they rolled the snow. When the snowman was finished, with a carrot nose and button eyes, the girls cheered. "Best Christmas ever," Sophie declared. "Because we're all together," Grace added. Lily looked up at her father and Emma with wise 6-year-old eyes. "And because Daddy's not lonely anymore." Alexander lifted his daughters into his arms, one at a time, and hugged them tight. Then he looked at Emma over their blonde heads, and in his eyes she saw gratitude and something else, something that felt like the beginning of hope. "Thank you," he mouthed silently. Emma smiled back, holding the red gift box, feeling snowflakes land softly on her hair. Sometimes, she thought, Christmas miracles came in unexpected ways. Sometimes they came in the form of 3 little girls and a note written in crayon. Sometimes they came when you were brave enough to knock on a stranger's door. "Merry Christmas," she said softly. And in that moment, surrounded by laughter and snow and twinkling lights, it truly was.